Okay, today's session we will have introduction to process rule. So under the process rule type, we have some important rule called flows. Okay, so we'll discuss about the flow types, and also we'll discuss about activity rule. Okay, so introduction to process rule type. Under that, so we'll have introduction about the flows and activity rule. Okay, so first of all, coming to the flows here. So okay, in the previous classes we have introduction to properties, then section. So because properties will be configured in a section in the next level we have to configure in a flow action, and this flow action in the next level we have to configure in a flow diagrams. Okay, so these are workflow diagrams which will initiate the total architecture of this flow, means what is the initial thing, then how it will process, then how it will be resolved. So entire thing will configure using the flows only. Okay, see these flows we have to configure from a case. Okay, from the case explorer we have to configure this process. Okay, so that one I will show in the next session. So, and basically these flows, in order to design these flows in the application, so we have a tool called modular tool. Okay, which is inbuilt in the tool itself. So using this modular tool we can design these workflow diagrams. Okay, so means these workflow diagrams will initiate so how the business flow will happen in the application. Okay, if you take, and this happens based on the module wise, means so based on the case we can configure these flows. Means if you open any case, right, we can configure any number of flows based on the requirement. Okay, so that configuration I will show in the next session. So before that, if you want to design these flows, right, we will use a tool called modular tool, and in this tool all the shapes are pre-configured. Means so along with the tool only, so we'll get all the shapes, what are all the shapes we have, and using these shapes only we can design this process. Okay, using the available shapes, what are the shapes we have to use these shapes and design the flows. And we cannot define our own user defined shapes, all the shapes are predefined only, and each shape will have a specific purpose. Okay, based on that we have to use the shape in the flow and add our rules. And in order to so coming to this, what are the different types of shapes we have inside the flows. So every flow will be designed in between the start shape and end shape. Okay, if you want to design one flow, means it will configure in between the, means every flow contains a start shape and end shape, and in between these two shapes only we will configure the entire process. So first of all I will show open the flow, and this is just introduction only. So just I am discussing about the purpose of the shape. Okay, when we will use this shape and what type of rule we can add in this shape we will discuss. So generally if you want to configure a flow, this under the process rule type will have these flows. If you go to process rule type, under this we'll have these flow rules, and we have some types also are there. So the flow types you'll get in the practical sessions. And right now what are the flows I am discussing, right? So these flows are also called as process flows. So what are the flows I am discussing, right? So these are also called as just flows we can call, or we can also call as process flows. And we have different names we'll use, that what are the different names of these flows. So when I discuss about the difference between the flow types, then I will discuss. So actually we can also call them as starter flows, straight through flows, or main flows. Okay, so many names will be there. So what are the difference between the flow types and all, you'll get in the coming sessions. Okay, so right now So if you right click on this class and under the process rule type, so select flow rule, it will open this page. Give any name. So here you will get a widget, or we can also call it as a modular tool. Okay, in this modular tool all the things are predefined, means all the shapes, all the structure is predefined. So wherever you want to use that particular shape, we can design in this flow rule. Okay, some basic main structure will be different by the business analyst in the real time. According to that, we have to design some main flows and sub flows in the application. And by default we'll get this shape in every flow, like 3 shapes will be there by default whenever you open any flow. So the first one is called as a start shape, and this is called as assignment, and this is called as end shape. And I told you your entire flow will be in between the start shape and end shape, means the first shape will be start shape and the last shape will be end shape. And there can be any number of end shapes, because based on the condition, so there can be multiple end connectors can be there, but for the entire flow there will be only one start shape will be there. Okay, a flow can contain single start shape and multiple end connectors. Okay, means multiple end shapes we can give based on the design purpose, based on the design requirement. Okay, so first of all I'll tell you the other shapes in the process flows. So start shape is nothing but, in order to begin the flow we'll use the start shape. End shape is to end the flow or end the process. Okay, and other shapes here is, important shape is assignment shape. Okay, generally if you want to add, this is called as assignment shape. Okay, see, if you want to see what are all the shapes we have, if you go to shapes, these are all some of the regularly used and very important shapes: assignment, decision, sub process, utility, start shape and end shape. Okay, apart from this there are 2 or 3 other shapes are there. We can also use them in the application whenever required, but these are very frequently used and mostly used shapes. Okay, so the purpose of each and every shape I'll explain now. So first one, coming to assignment. Okay, this is assignment shape. See, when we will use this assignment shape means, anytime if you want to include flag action, means, so we are designing some screens, like so in the form of section. First of all we will design, and this section we have to configure any flow action. Okay, so while configuring this form, means what are the form you are designing, right? So directly we cannot add a section into the assignment shape. Okay, generally assignment shape purpose is to, whenever you want to add a screen in the flow, means what are the screen we are designing in the application from the user interface category, if you want to add a screen we have to use assignment shape. So here directly we cannot add a section rule, because so section we cannot configure a section directly inside a flow diagram. So in order to add a screen in the flow diagram, so in the form of flow action we have to call. Okay, because section is a container of, okay, we have to add a section inside a flow action, and this flow action we can configure in a flow using this assignment shape. Okay, so the structure is designed like that, because in the flow action additionally we are performing some other actions. So after performing those other actions, then only we can add this form in the flow diagram. So without adding these actions, so there is no scope to directly add a section inside a flow diagram. So compulsory, so after creating a section, so we have to configure in a flow action, and this flow action we have to configure in a flow using this assignment shape. Means, so anytime if you want to add a fly action in a flow diagram means where you want to place the screen, will get a requirement. So this is the first screen. So after submitting this, it will go to the next form. There you have to again one more assignment shape you will take, and you will configure one more flow, one more page you will configure. So like this, whenever required, if you want to add a screen or add a fly action in the flow diagram, then we will use this assignment shape. And in the assignment shape, connector properties will configure. See, normally in the directly in the, if you open this shape, right, again we'll have some other options like routing, service level, and some settings like notifications, like email notifications and all. Okay, you'll get in the coming sessions all these things. See, this routing, so we can define at application level and in the real time also. So based on the work assignment, means work assignment by the business analyst also will be done by the using this option only. So how to use this routing in the assignment, and how to use service levels, and how to use notifications, you'll get in the practical sessions. So right now, the other purpose at developer level, what developers will do using this assignment shape means, in order to add the fly action name in the flow diagram. So then where to add the fly action name means in this connector. See, what are the connector given from assignment to other shape, can be any shape. But if you open this connector settings, here you can see option called fly action, and if you click on down arrow, it will show all the fly action names in this particular sample class. Okay, so under this class, what are the fly actions we have, it will display all of them. So what is your screen means which screen you want to place here in this fly action, so we have to call that one. Okay, if you want to call this sample fly action, just in the drop down select the fly action name. So that is the purpose means. So when we will use the assignment shape means, anytime if you want to call a fly action in a flow diagram, so then we have to use assignment shape. And if you want to add more fly actions means, then after this assignment again you will include one more assignment. Okay, so now how to add a shape or how to delete a shape, I will tell you. And one more thing is, see, again here also we are having some connector option, and here also we having a connector. See, but these connector behavior will be different based on the shape here. See, if you see a connector which is given from starting to that next step, so if you open this behavior connector properties, these settings will be different. Okay, this connector behavior will be based on the shape it will be. Okay, so if you want to see the connector behavior of this start shape properties, so there is nothing to set, means no need to set any mandatory things. But whenever we use assignment shape, right, compulsory we need to give the fly action name. Okay, so compulsory we have to mention the name of the fly action if we are using assignment shape. Okay, again how to delete any shape or how to add any shape means, for example, after this assignment I want to add one more assignment, so then just delete this end shape, so we can add again. So once the design is done, so finally we will include the end shape only. So now if you want to add one more assignment, so we can add shapes in two different ways. See, from the shapes category we can drag and drop. So one option is from the available shapes we have, right, if you want to include assignment shape in this flow, just to drag and drop. Okay, so where you want to place that shape, after which shape you want to add, so there position the shape from this shapes option, flow shapes option. Or else the easy method is, instead of dragging, selecting that and dragging and dropping, so the easy way is right click on this flow, this design area is there, right, so in the, or if you right click on that, if you right click on this page, you will get the add option. So under this you will have, you can see all the list of shapes. So directly click on the shape. which is easy. So instead of dragging and dropping from here, if you right click on the window and in this work pane and just select the type of shape which you want to use here, okay, it will be easy than dragging and dropping from here. If you want to delete any, and if you want to move this shape, just click on that and just select the move the position, exact position. And if you want to connect these shapes means, so we have to extend this or move the connection till this, and this shape is connected. So here if you want to move the connection, see we have a green small dot is there, right? So just select that one and just move the connection. If you get the green line like this, the entire shape, then it is connected successfully. So make sure these connections are given properly, because so when you execute this one, so if the connections are not given, it will not give the exact output, because so based on these connections only it will move forward in the flow. Okay, so if you are not giving the from second shape to next shape, if you didn't give the connection properly, it will not execute the other things. Okay, it will stop execution here itself. Okay, it will not execute anything. Okay, so these connections must be given properly. Suppose once again I will show you the how to give connections. So if you want to give a connection from one shape to other shape, say at the end of this shape you'll get some connection dots will be there. Okay, so if you click on any dot, so you'll get an option called create new connection. Then you have to drag and drop, release the connection. Okay, now again you will get a green line. Release the connector. Okay, so like this you can view the, so the purpose of this connector is to connect one shape to other shape in a flow diagram. Okay, so in order to create connections between the shapes, we'll use the connector option, and this connector behavior will be different based on the shape. Means if you consider here from start shape to assignment shape also we have given the connection, but this is a normal connector. But whenever we have given a connector from assignment, so and next shape can be assignment or it can be any other shape, but what are the connector which is going from the assignment shape, these connectors are called as flow action connectors. See here, coming to the connectors, so this one is a normal connector if it is connected from start shape to assignment shape. But if any connector is given from assignment to next shape, can be any shape. So from assignment, if you have given any connector, these connectors are called as flow action connectors, because we have to give the name of the flow action, right? So these connections are called as flow action connectors. And we have in the connectors also in the coming sessions at flow level, some types will be there, local action, okay, flow action, some different types will be there, you will get in the practical sessions. Okay, so right now the purpose of assignment is to add a flow action name in the flow diagram. So here once again in this connector we'll give the flow action name, and once again we have taken assignment after this, so again we have to give the, but we don't have any flow actions right now, so just I'll give the same one again. So in the coming sessions we will configure more flow actions. Okay, so coming to the other shape, so what is the purpose of the other shapes in the flow means, so the next used shape is the sub-process shape. We have one shape called sub-process. See, generally when we will use the sub-process means, again I told you in the flows we have two types of flows are there. And what are the flows I'm discussing? These are process flows, and coming to the other type of flows, those are called as screen flows. The other type of flows are called as screen flows. See, the shapes are common in both the flows only, but the thing is some behavior will be different and some usage will be different slightly. Okay, so those differences, it's too early. In the next coming sessions, in the practical sessions, you'll get about this screen flows. So but what is the purpose of this sub process is, if you want to configure one flow in another flow, means if you want to call one flow in another flow, so we have to use this sub process shape only. Means if you want to call process flow in screen flow, or sorry process flows we cannot call in screen flows, because these are main flows and screen flows comes under subflows. Generally subflows we cannot call in a main flows we cannot call in a subflows. So the possible ways we can call the flows is process flows we can call in process flows, screen flows we can call in screen flows, and screen flows we can call in process flows. So these are the three ways. Okay, see generally main flows we can call in main flows, subflows we can call in a subflow, and subflows we can call in a main flow. Okay, so these are the three ways where we can configure one flow in another flows. In all these three cases we will use a sub process. Okay, using the sub process only, so calling one flow in another flow is possible. Okay, so whenever we have a requirement for calling a subflow in a process flows, then we will use this sub process shape in the application, means in the flow diagram. So just I'll open the shape and I'll show it. So this is sub process, and in this sub process directly from the shape itself, see from this directly from, if you open the shape, means if you open the properties of this shape, so in the shape properties itself we will configure the flow names. Okay, for example, again there will be filter will be there, because I told you we have two types of flows, process flows and screen flows. If you want to call process flow, means we can include the name of the flow name in the drop down. Okay, if you want to call a screen flow, means in the filter option we have to select screen flow. Okay, then it will display the names only of the screen flows, but right now we don't have any screen flows. If you want to call it process flow, means we have to select the filter flow by process flow. If you want to call a screen flow, means we have to select filter flow by screen flow here. Okay, so like this we have to configure a flow inside the sub process shape properties. And another shape is decision shape. See, decision shape purpose is to, if you want to call a condition, see generally conditions will define separately in the application and we'll call here. Okay, means conditions we can call in different ways we can call. Okay, but calling conditions in flow is also one way. Okay, generally conditions we can call in 3 to 4 ways. So using the declare expressions we can call, using activities we can call, and using flows also we can call. Okay, and when we have to call and what is the purpose and in which scenarios we have to call, you'll get in the sessions. See right now generally, see using the decision shape, what type of rules we can call is, so all are conditions only. So each rule will be of different type of condition, and we have some rules like decision table we can call in a flow diagram using decision shape. Decision trees we can call. Map value is one type of condition, so we can call those conditions in a flow using decision shape. And when condition will be there, so using decision shape we can also configure when condition. So these 4 type of rules we can call inside a flow diagram using the decision shape. Okay, so whenever we get a requirement for calling the conditions in a flow diagram, then we'll use a decision shape. In order to call conditions in a flow, we'll use decision shape, and these are all the types. So these are all the 4 types of conditions we can configure inside a flow diagram. Okay, so this one also, so we'll have a practical sessions on this, so then we'll discuss about this. So I'm coming to the shape, decision shape. So this is a decision shape. See, mostly decision shapes will be given after assignment or after any sub process, or assignment shapes will give their decision shapes. So generally how to call conditions means, if you open this shape properties, decision shape properties, so we'll be having some types: decision table, decision tree, map value, and 4 keys for when condition. Okay, some types will be there here. So first of all we need to choose the type, and then we have to give the name of the rule. Okay, so like this we can call conditions in the flow diagram using a decision shape. And we have one more important shape called utility shape. So the purpose of this utility shape is to, if you want to call business logic in the flow diagram, so if you want to call business logic in a flow diagram, see this business logic how we will define means, using activity rule we can define the logic. So we have a rule called activity rule, which is very important. See, anytime if you want to configure activity in a flow diagram, okay, means here, so business logic will be defined from the using activity rule. Okay, so for in order to call activity rule in a flow, we will use utility shape. Okay, the purpose of the utility shape is to call activity rules in a flow diagram, then we can go with the utility shape. Okay, so in this activity rule we can configure any type of logic using the predefined methods. So already methods are predefined here, so we can use what are the required method you want, we can use that method and we can configure parameters. And once after saving this rule, so we'll call this activity rule inside a flow diagram using the utility shape. Okay, so the purpose of utility is to, I will add a shape here. So this is utility shape. So directly in the shape properties itself we will call the activity names. Okay, but till now we didn't create any activity. So in the, after this introduction I will tell about the activity introduction. So in the drop down we have to configure the activity names. See, not only in this shape, see activity rules we can configure in different rules. Okay, not only in a flow diagram. So generally if you want to call activity rule in a flow means, we will use utility shape, and in other rules we will use different methods, in different purpose we will use. Okay, so when we will call in a flow diagram means, so if you want to include any logic for the page, okay, page level logic if you want to define means, we will configure in a flow diagram using the utility shape. Okay, so immediately after giving the input in the form, if you want to perform any business logic for those properties means, then immediately after the assignment shape or after adding the condition, we will take the utility shape and we will call that activity in this flow diagram. So like this we will use different shapes in the flows and we will configure them, means according to the requirement, design requirement, and based on the specifications we have to configure these flows using the shapes, means what is the starting initial thing and how it will process in the flow and how it should be completed. So all the total structure we have to configure inside the flow diagrams only. Okay, so the tool is inbuilt here, so within the PEGA PRPC. So what are the shapes we have? So the shapes purpose is fixed here. So the anytime if you want to use assignment shape means for adding a flow action, and anytime if you want to use a sub process means for configuring a different flows, means process flows or sub flows if you want to configure means will use sub process. Decision is for adding conditions and utility is for adding methods or business logic. So these are shapes are fixed here. Okay, and their purpose is also fixed. Okay, accordingly we have to use the shapes in the flows and we have to configure the flows, and we have to, in these shapes we'll configure the rules. Okay, so if you want to configure a flow action rule means in the assignment connector will provide. If you want to configure a process log, any flow rule if you want to configure in a sub process means directly in the shape properties will configure. In the decision shape properties will configure a condition like decision table, decision tree, or map value, or when conditions, and in the utility shape we will configure the activity rules. So tomorrow's session you will get a practical on this. Okay. Okay, so how to use all these things, you'll get a practical session on tomorrow's class. Next, introduction. Okay, so we have more things will be there, so about them. So what are all the other options and other parameters, so we'll discuss in the practical class. So here main purpose of this process flows is to design the entire flow of the application, and these flows will be based on the case. Okay, from the case level we will configure these flows. Okay, that how to configure from the case level, so that one I will show in tomorrow's session. So now other important rule here is activity rule, so which plays very important role in the design here, because any logic, any business logic or any method you want to use, we have to configure from this activity rule only. Okay, and it is related to entire application, so which plays a main role in this application design process. Okay, here inside the activity rule, so all the methods are predefined. Okay, no need to define any own methods here, so all the methods are predefined in the tool, and from this activity rule we can configure these methods. Okay, so no need to define any new methods or own methods here. Okay, what are the methods we have, so those are sufficient, and whenever you have to define any logic in this, so we have to select the type of method, because so we can easily identify. You can ask, okay, what type of method we have to use and what is the purpose. I will explain in session to session, day by day you will get some few methods you will get, so then we can discuss about each and every method. So maximum we'll use 30 to 35 methods we'll use in the real times. Okay, so what are all the important methods we'll use, we'll discuss in the sessions. Okay, before that, these activities rules comes under technical category or technical rule type. Under the technical rule type, you will get the name called activity rule. So first of all I will open one. So from the technical category we can open these activity rules. Give any name. And when you open this, so we have some different tabs will be there in this activity. So the main purpose of activity is to use the methods and configure its parameters, right? So when you open an activity, the main purpose of this activity is to define the business logic using the available methods and configure its parameters. And in a single activity you can add any number of methods based on your requirement. So based on your logical requirement, we can use any number of methods in this activity. So how to use the methods means, okay, you will be getting some like step 1, step 2, step 3 like this. So in each step we can configure one method. Okay, in step 1 if you take, we can configure one method. The first method you will take in a step 1, second method you will configure in the step 2, and third method you will configure in a step 3. Like this, if you want to add 5 methods means we will be adding 5 steps here. Okay, if you want to see, so by default when you open activity rule, right, you will be having a steps tab like this, and by default you will get a step number 1, and in this step number 1 we can configure, means so not only method options, some other parameters also will be there. So coming to the, first of all, basically 4 tabs will be there when you open this activity. Steps tab is for defining the methods and configuring those methods, and parameters tab is to, means if you want to configure any temporary parameters and if you want to use them within this activity, we can configure in a parameter tab. Okay, whenever you want to pass values to the activity using some temporary properties, then we can define those temporary properties in this parameters tab. Okay, so we'll get some few scenarios then I will discuss about this parameters tab. Then inside activity rule one of the important tab is pages and classes. So this pages and classes purpose is to, so here while defining the logic or while defining the methods here, so from which class means we are, whether we are comparing a data class or work class, okay, so which type of classes we are mapping, and the properties and property values and property names are from which class. So those things we have to configure in the pages and classes. Okay, it's very important. For example, if you want to map any data to the data classes means, so we have to map the class name of the data class, and like this if you want to include the work classes means, if you are comparing both the work class and data class means, in one row we'll give the work class name, in another row we'll give the data class name. And we have some concept called page names. So this page names why we will use means, we will use for debugging purpose, because we are in the developer environment, so we have to test them. Okay, once after mapping, so we need to test them in the application, so whether the data mapped correctly or not. So basic testing will be there. So in order to perform this testing here, so we'll use a concept called page names. Okay, we used to call as step page also, or the other names will be like, so page name is also called as step page, or we can also call as user pages. So these concept I'll show in tomorrow's session. So how to use these page names and what type of page names we have to configure based on the classes, so you'll get in tomorrow's session only, this one also. So but it is very important. Pages and classes is nothing but, so what type of classes we are using in this in order to map the data. So those both the classes we have to configure here. Work classes and data classes you are mapping means, we have to list the work class name and data class name. So generally if you are creating this activity inside the sample class means, so we have to enter this, we have to provide this total class name, that is, see again work class comes here, nothing but your entire class, that is my-key-work-sample. If you are working on the bank class means, so my-key-work-bank. Okay, and data class means what, so while creating the tables, right, we are using some class names, means nothing but table name. So the table name also, so everything you'll get in the drop down, these class names you'll get in the drop down only. So just in the drop down you have to search for that class name, and in the drop down you have to define them. Okay, so it means, so before going to the step whenever we open an activity, so first of all go to pages and classes and we will define these parameters, then we'll go to the step and we'll define the methods. Okay, and again in the each step here, okay, I told you if you can add any number of steps. For example, if you want to include 3 methods means, we'll do 3 steps. Okay, so first of all, so we have to define the method in the first steps, and here all the methods are predefined only. Okay, in the drop down under the method drop down you can see all the methods here. Okay, all the methods are predefined only. So what type of method is required for you, according to your requirement you can select the method name. And if you take any method, right, so method contains some parameters, means if you want to configure this method means, we have to expand this method. So expand means left side we have an option called expand to see method parameters. So what are the method you are using, so based on that method you will have some method parameters. So we have to configure these parameters, means we have to give some inputs. So what is the page names, what is the class names, what are the properties, any logic. Like if you take any other method, again its properties and behavior will be different, means its parameters will be different. So based on that, so what are the method we are using, accordingly we need to map the method parameters. So basically you can easily identify, because I'll tell you, so these methods are categorized into again different types. So few methods comes under obj methods. So all these things I will explain in the sessions, so day by day. So we have something called obj methods, property methods, RDB methods, connector methods, show methods, page methods. So like this, so methods we have categorized into different types accordingly. So we can easily identify obj methods is for all the database, internal database mapping purpose we'll use obj methods. So property methods means so configuring property value and property names. RDB methods means configuring external databases. Connector methods means in order to configure external connectors and all we'll use them. Okay, show methods means for showing the records and all we'll use. So page methods means for showing any messages or custom messages page level. Okay, some different methods. So all the methods are categorized into different types. Under each type again we'll have some list of methods will be there. Okay, so based on that, so I will tell you so when to use obj methods, when to use property methods. So all these things you'll get in the sessions. Okay, and coming to the other things, and again not only the method option, you can see some other things also in the each step. For example, if you take the step, any step here, so every step will contain some options like a label, loop option, when condition, method option, something called step page, then description about the method, and then we have something called jump. Okay, see these all these options are common in every step. Okay, this is the options we have in step 1. Again if you open add a new step also, again you will get the same options. Okay, and all these things are optional except method option. See compulsory, if you are adding one step means it's mandatory. So method option compulsory, we need to fill the details, means we have to compulsory add a method, and if any parameters are there we have to configure the parameters. So but all these other options are optional things. If required we will use them or we will configure them. So coming to the other things, generally what is the purpose of this label means, so label can be used to control the execution of the method. Means for example, if you want to whether to execute this method or not, we can decide from this label option. For example, if you don't want to execute the first method in this particular activity, so in the label option just give ". So generally in a Java programming, if you don't want to execute any line of code, we'll give a # or comment option. Similarly, so in PEGA also, if you don't want to execute any method here in this activity, so we can give a label here. So if in the label option if you give #, it will not execute this method directly, it will jump to the second method and start executing from here. Like this, label helps to control execution of the method. So whether to execute or not, we can decide from the label option. So other purpose also will be there in the coming sessions. Whenever we configure some error parameters, so those parameters also will pass in the label only. Okay, whenever we define some conditions within this activity method, so if you want to pass any error parameters, so those error parameters also will define in the label only. Okay, so two purpose, one is to control the execution of the method, and another one will be label can be used to add error parameters also. So that one, how to define error parameters, you'll get in the practical sessions. And another option is loop option. So here if you want to see, so loop in means if you want to add any for loop like anything, so if you want to repeat that anything in the application, so we can add in the loop option, means repeat the same method again and again in the, if you define the loop here, it will happen automatically. So it's nothing but a for loop will be there. And when condition means before executing this method, if you want to give any when condition, we can define in the when condition option. Again we will be having some, here also we will be having some parameters, and based on the conditions again we will have some options. If condition is true, what action it should perform. If condition is false, what type of action it should perform. Okay, so but mostly we will not define preconditions in any application. Maximum will define post conditions, because before submitting the data, very not even 1% also. So we will not, just when condition is given, but we will not use the when conditions, means precondition this one before, because before the method if you get any condition, right, it is called as a precondition. Okay, so we will not use preconditions in any applications. So maximum we will use post condition will be there. This one is also same, when condition only, but it is called as post condition, or we can call it as jump condition. Okay, so like here also we'll have the same options. If true, some options will be there, and if false, some options will be there. Okay, so what type of condition you want to give, and what if condition is true, what action if you want to set, we can set from here also. So but in the applications mostly we will use post conditions only. Okay, so when is nothing but a precondition, and jump is nothing but a post condition. And here the next thing is method option. So method option purpose is to, so all the methods are predefined, so just choose the required method and configure its parameters. Okay, so all the methods will be predefined here. So what are the method required, so just select the name of the method, and we'll be knowing, so when we complete the application side, so you can easily identify what is the purpose of each and every method here. So then accordingly, so what are the requirement you get in the real time also, you can directly select the method type and you can configure the parameters. And we have something called step page, and again here also the step page purpose is to, means in the pages and classes, what are the user pages you define, right, what are the page names, so same page names we have to configure in the step page also. So generally, so here one purpose of the step page is to, so step page will add user pages to the clipboard for debugging purpose. So the purpose about this step page purpose and practically I will show in tomorrow's session, but generally its purpose is to add user pages to clipboard and use it for, in the clipboard generally we will use for debugging. It's a debugging tool, clipboard is a debugging tool, so it will add the user pages to clipboard, and which is used for debugging purpose. So this one how to debug using these step pages and all, in tomorrow's practical example only you'll get. Okay, so tomorrow we'll combine all these things, like from table creation to, so these activities, flows, cases. Okay, so everything will configure from one rule to other rule, and how to map them you will see in tomorrow's session only. Okay, so in tomorrow's session only I will show you how these step pages are added in the clipboard tool and how we can debug them at server level. So this one also you'll get in tomorrow's session. Okay, here the purpose is to, so these step pages will be, means it will create a new user page in the clipboard, and from their clipboard tool we can perform debugging at server level. Okay, so that is the purpose of the clipboard, and description we can give anything, and this one is jump condition. So like this, if you take any step here, the options will be same, but here method is a mandatory thing. Okay, if you are adding one step, means compulsory we need to define a method, and if we have any mandatory parameters in that method, we have to configure the mandatory parameters, but other things are optional. If required, we will give them. Okay, we will map them. If not required, just leave it as a blank. Okay, so but if you are adding a step, means compulsory we have to define the method in the step option. Okay, so like this, so activities will play very important role in the application, so which is used for designing the business logic. So whenever you want to add a business logic, so from the activity methods only we can define. And see, once we save these activity rules, see generally we can call these activities in maximum 10 different ways we can call. So this logic after defining the activity rule, right, we can configure in 10 different ways. So I will tell few rules from where we can use this activity rule. Okay, firstly I will tell you about the flow. Inside a flow, generally if you want to use this activity, means we will use utility shape, and from the section, within the section from property level we can call these activities, and in a flow action we can call this activity from the action tab. we have an action tab in the flow action. I told you yesterday, if you want to perform any additional business, means if you want to add any additional actions like business logic, so we can define the business logic from the activity rule, and we can call from the flow action using the action tab. Okay, from the flow actions also we can configure activities, and from a rule called data pages is there, you'll get in the next sessions. From data pages we can call activities. From connectors, integration connectors, we can configure activities. From integration services we can configure activities. From agents we can configure. So like this, so different rules will be there. From declare on change rule we can configure activities like this. So different rules will be there. Accordingly we have to configure these activity rules separately, and where you want to configure in the application, at which level, at which rule you want to configure. Okay, we have to configure the activity in that particular rule. Okay, so when we have to configure in a flow, when we have to configure in a section, when in a flow diagram, when we have to configure in data pages. So like this you'll get scenarios. So n number of scenarios you'll get. We'll be covering all these things. Okay, so accordingly you can understand. So activity rules will be defined separately, and we have to configure in a particular rule accordingly. So if you want to call in a flow, means after the assignment shape we will give. If you want to configure at section level, means from the either from the link or button or control settings, we will configure the section and property level. Okay, whenever you want to define a page level business logic, we will configure in a flow action. If you want to load multiple records from a database, we will configure. Okay, don't worry, so just I'm giving an example. When I did the practicals and all these things, you can understand. So on data pages means, in order to fetch records from the database, we will configure in the data pages. So in connectors means, if you are mapping, if you at business level, application level, if you want to define any business logic and map to different external applications, we will use the connectors. And here, so whenever you want to give any request parameters and response parameters, the logic will define in the services. So agent, for creating an agent node, will configure an activity from the agents. And if you want to call activities business condition, based on the condition, if you want to call activities, means we will define in a declare on change. So like this, so different rules will be there. So these are all the possible rules we can configure the activity rule. Okay, so like this, so different rules will be there. Okay, apart not only this, we have more important rules are there. You'll get in the next sessions, like decision rules are there, declarative rules are there, notification rules are there, okay, validation rules are there, reporting things, routing. Okay, so many things are there. So day by day, so practically we'll be covering all those things. Okay, so from tomorrow's session, so we'll be implementing all these things. So whatever we discussed till now, right, we'll implement all these things using one, so scenario base. We'll be covering the project tomorrow. Okay, so then in tomorrow's session you can clearly understand so how to combine all these things in a single scenario. Okay, so using one scenario I'll tell you so how to map all these things combinedly in one single scenario. We'll be using that example tomorrow. Okay, so don't worry, so if you didn't understand here till now also, not an issue. So from tomorrow, if you can follow, it will be fine. Okay, so till here only technical theoretical thing only. So from tomorrow again in depth about each and every rule, so you'll get a practical thing. So along with the options, what are the in-depth options we have in each and every rule, we'll be discussing from tomorrow. Okay, any questions? Okay, see, only connector from assignment is called as a flow action connector. So every connector will have some different parameters, no need to worry. If required, you have to configure. Everyone is a normal connector only. Any connector is a normal one. only from the apart from the assignment, any other connector is a normal only. Okay, so only a connector which is given from assignment is called as a flaction connector, because we will give the flaction name in the connector settings, right? So that's it is called as flaction connector. So other connectors, for example, from sub process to other shape, some connectors will give decision to other shape. Okay, maybe behavior will be different, the settings will be different, but all the connectors, other connectors are normal only. Okay, so any questions? Yeah, I will share notes on this. Or else if you have a tool, you can also prepare by yourself. Suppose if you want to know what is the purpose of this shapes, so within the tool you can refer. So if you open the flow or anything, for example, so in this flow rule only, so if you go to the, not only this rule, any rule, I told you in the previous session also, once again I am saying, if you want to know what are the shapes you have, so go to get help option, you will get all the shapes, what are the shapes you have. Okay, if you go to the diagram option, scroll down, you will get all the information about each and every shape. Suppose if you want to know the overall information about assignment, click on open, so you will get a detailed purpose about this assignment. Okay, so full description you will get about this shape, about each and every option, every parameter about this shape, overall description will be there. Okay, so like this you can, so if you want to prepare, so open every shape and you can refer these things. Okay, you'll get a detail, or else I'll also share a notes on this. Okay, you can refer that one also. But if PDF documents will not be there for PEGA. So anything, so individual documents will be there. So there will not be any e-books like that, will not be there for PEGA. So they will not provide any books like that. So I will share these things. Okay, so day by day, topic wise topic, I'll be sharing the notes, and you have to prepare from this thing also. Okay, so based on the rule, for example, we finished a property section, we prepared. So just open the section tool and go to get help option, and if you want to go to refer the flows, so go to get help option and refer them. It will be easy for you. Yes, tell me. Sub process is just a calling a flow. So if in the flow you can design the structure, can be, you can use 10 shapes or 15 shapes also can be there. Sub process is calling an entire flow. And utility is just we are calling only one thing called activity rule. So there is a lot of difference. Sub process is used for calling a flow, so calling any sub screen flow or process flow, and utility is for just calling an activity rule, that's it. So one single activity rule we can call inside a utility properties, and in the sub process we can call an entire flow. Okay, overall process flow we can call, or entire screen flow we can call, based on the requirement. Okay, any questions? Yes, tell me. It's depending upon your system. I don't know which type of browser you are using. So try to use Internet Explorer only. Okay, maximum try to use Internet Explorer. No. Yeah, you can set a default browser from the Internet Explorer settings. You can set the browser as default, right? If you go to the tools internal options, okay, I don't know what, which it depends upon again version, means if it is Windows 10 settings will be different. Just search in the Google. Okay, if it is Windows, yeah, but it will be only, it will work for Windows 10, but for Windows 7 we have to do it manually. Windows 8, try to go to Internet Explorer settings and see the options. Will be some settings will be different in Windows 8 also. Okay, once check the recording also. You'll have the steps for setting the browser and all will be there. Installation video is there, right? Once check that video, or else easily you can find in the YouTube. So many videos are there. So how to set the default browser? Yeah, how to set default browser for Windows 8? Just search in the Google. Okay, others, any installation issues anybody is having? Okay, everybody able to install it successfully, right? Anyone having any installation issues? Yeah, from tomorrow only. From tomorrow. Okay, so we'll see tomorrow then. Okay. So thank you. Class duration 30 hours. Means class duration 1 to 1.5 hour. Oh no, not possible actually. Oh no, I am already only 1 to 1.5 hour max I can take. Again, if I take more also, it will be problem for you. You cannot follow the things in the same session. If I complete at least, because but maximum 1.5 hour is the session time. Okay, so we'll see tomorrow.